What's up, you stupid idiots?
What's up, everybody?
How's it going?
How's everyone doing?
We got Maddie Beggs back on the show tonight. The
Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello.
the Moneyballers Homer Report is back, and we're here to fucking get this bread. Am I doing
Right.
it? Am I being a fantasy analyst?
It sounds it. Sounds right to me.
What's up in your neck of the woods?
Not
How's
much.
how's them
You know,
boys, as they say?
they are, we'll get there, but they are committing penalties and leaving a lot of question marks. Some positives there, though, but I think obviously the start here is Deshaun Watson getting 11 games and
Yeah,
that it was agreed upon. I think that was the big deal, was better than
yeah,
court, and that everybody said better than court. I think, the NFL wanted a year. I think Watson wanted obviously 6 or less. And then I think the NFL knew they weren't going to get a year. Watson knew he wasn't going to get 6. There's your middle.
yeah,
And then I think Watson, I think, got saved a little on the money side. I think that
for
5 million.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I kind of thought 10 million, if not maybe a tick higher. I thought 10 million was the number I had in my head. So I think he negotiated that 5 million down with the compromise of that sensitivity training, where he'll go sit in the back
yeah.
with his hoodie up and pretend like he's not there for 7 days and be done with it,
He's been
in
such
my
an
opinion.
ass in these, and I just wish he was like, I get it, you're under a lot of stress, but he's just been such an ass in these interviews.
Yes, he has. Yeah, it's been perplexing.
Yeah.
One sentence he says, "I apologize." So the women literally looks the female reporter in the face and says, "I apologize if I hurt you." And then right before he had said that, he said, "Well, I'm innocent of everything." And it's
Okay.
just what's really odd about him is he's not very much, I guess, to his convictions, but maybe he is. That's what
Yeah.
That's what's it's very his. He does the media side of it, where I think he wants to just play. I think it is a facade, but the facade is that he thinks he didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
He's just going to play this game out with the media and with the world, do his 11-game suspension, and then come out and ball.
And he will too. That's the thing. He really will.
Yeah. I think my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But that leads to the question though, with 11 games, can the Browns hold up? What do you think there?
Okay, I think they did the suspension the way they did it on purpose. Also, isn't his first game back going to be against the freaking Houston Texans?
Well, that was actually my next line. The devil works hard, but Roger Goodell works harder, and that Sean Watson's coming back before the Houston game. I mean it.
Is it
Yeah,
in
it was.
Houston?
Let me check.
Browns,
I'm gonna pull
Houston.
up their schedule right
Week, I
now.
think it's got to be 12 because they got the bye
It
week.
is
Oh,
12.
week 13. Okay, at
Oh yeah.
Houston. Dude,
Okay, so yeah,
that's how
Houston.
you
Yeah,
make
home
it.
to Houston. Oh yeah.
That's
And
how
that'll
you
and
keep a man from sleeping at night. That's what that
Yep.
is.
And NBC just needs Houston to be, or I think CBS will obviously take the game because it's AFC conference. But boy,
Yeah.
if NBC could get the chance to flex that to Sunday night, they will not hesitate,
Yeah.
because that's so. If we look at here, our Cleveland Browns, they start the year at Carolina, which is already interesting enough with the Baker Mayfield revenge game.
Yeah.
And then it's home to the Steelers, home to the Chargers,
Home to the
um,
Steelers. Okay.
away. Yep, home to the Chargers, away to Baltimore. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, hold on, because they screwed up the way that they're showing this to me. Okay, here we go. They are away Carolina, home to the Jets. Then they come back around for a Thursday game. It looks like, home to the Steelers. Then they are at Atlanta, home to the Browns, home to the Patriots, away to Baltimore, home to the Browns. I'm sorry, home to the Bengals, away to Miami, away to Buffalo, home for Tampa, and then Houston game.
Okay.
I mean, if I had to venture a guess, I would say that this team will be 5-6 at best if he comes back. I think they're going to be 4-7. I
Okay.
don't know. I mean, well, I guess it really depends on your belief in that defense. If you think that defense in Myles Garrett is going to be healthy and a difference maker, and you think that defense can keep them in games, then I think they could. I definitely think you could see them beating the Jets, beating Atlanta. New England's a toss-up. I think
You
they
think
could.
so? I don't know, man. Well,
Well, it being at home is the only reason I think it can be a
okay.
toss-up. If it was in New England, I'd have no doubt that I think New England would win.
Yeah.
But then you go, even if it's at home, they have Tom Brady. I don't think Tom Brady loses to Jacoby Brissett. Road to the Bills. I
No.
don't see that as a win. Miami's a tough out on the road.
Yep.
I don't see them winning against their division rival on the road.
Hmm.
Is it? I mean, maybe 3-8. Again, 4-7 is what I have. If you think they're going to
Okay.
beat the Panthers, if you think they're going to beat the Panthers, I have them at 4-7 because I think they
I
win
don't
week one,
I don't think
win
they're
week,
gonna beat the Panthers. I think the Panthers
then
are low key. I mean, they're middle of the pack still, but they're a
right.
little bit underrated.
Then I
Their
could see
defense is pretty fierce, and if McCaffrey's healthy and Mayfield is playing anywhere close to how he actually legitimately can play, it's gonna
yeah,
be not a horrible team. The Falcons are gonna be so
abs.
fucking bad. I
Yes,
just can't.
I don't think they'll be good. I
No.
agree. It's not there yet. They're in a rebuild without telling everyone that they're in a rebuild. It's one
Yeah.
of them things. It was evident from the Ridley suspension, moving on from Matt Ryan, Julio a few years ago. We could go down the Atlanta rabbit hole on what they should have done after blowing that 28-3 lead, but I don't need to open up old wounds for Atlanta fans that
Oh man,
have
we're
never been
sorry.
healed.
I feel like if an Atlanta fan sees a video tagged with Patriots Homer news, they're like, yeah, I'm like literally never gonna watch that.
Yeah,
So
they're gonna scroll past this anyway. So I guess we are okay with just essentially letting everybody know that they're gonna stink. And so I
yeah.
think that if you believe in Carolina, then I still think 3-8 or 4-7 because I think they could beat the Jets, I think they could beat Atlanta, and then I think they steal one out of that Steelers, Chargers, Patriots, Ravens, Miami group, or do they split with or do they beat the Bang? They
Yeah.
could get. I think they get at Atlanta and the Jets are wins. And then I think they can get 1 or 2 wins against either a division rival or Miami/New England. That's where the
Yeah.
4, I think, come in, and that they look at 4-7. And then from there, can he rattle off 6 in a row and get them 10-7? Maybe. But then does that 10-7 even get you in the AFC? It's,
Yeah.
because then after that, Houston, I'd give him that win. But then he's got to turn around and go on the road to Cincinnati. Then he's home to Baltimore, home to New Orleans, road Washington, road Pittsburgh to end the year. So I think he can, beat Washington. I think he can beat the
Mm.
Saints. I think he can beat
You think it can be the
Baltimore. But
Saints?
then,
This I don't know.
well,
Okay,
right.
yeah.
It's Christmas. So let's
Okay,
Christmas Eve
yeah.
on that Saints game. So it's a lot to learn about the Saints between now and then. What
Yeah.
does Jameis look like post ACL? What does Michael Thomas look like post injury? How does that defense look? It's always been consistently good. And now their D coordinator comes in. So clearly there's
Yeah.
positive things to the Saints. It's also just Jameis Winston, the last time he played a full year, it was 36 interceptions. So it's, there's question marks there. So and bottom line though is I don't think that there's a route to 6-0
Yeah.
in that
No.
final 6. I think it's wins against Texans and Washington are for sure. And then the other 4, 3 of them are against the division. 3 out of the 6 are divisional games. Like, that's not easy in the AFC North. I don't care what year and where those teams are at. They're all hard-hitting teams, and it's in December. All
Yeah,
cold weather areas.
it does. It's like we're gonna let him play in the worst season to play for the first time. We'll have him start off in his old home stadium where everyone like
That
hates
too. I
him
mean,
now.
right. I mean, the
You
thought
know?
of does Lovie Smith semi-turn Houston around to where they're somewhat decent, and then that building is going to be the roof's going to come off that joint
I
just every
know.
time he's on the field booing him. They're going to eviscerate him that night, I would imagine. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
there's going to be pockets of fans that loved him and loved what he did for them, but he asked out and he did all of that scumbag stuff allegedly.
Yeah.
I don't imagine it's
Right.
going to be
Allegedly.
raining down like Tom Brady coming back to, it's going to be
Yeah.
booze. I think it's so, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it for Watson for me. And that really the interesting part is what do we see with the Browns being able to or not being able to hold up But I think, again, as you know, Cleveland put in his contract, they've kind of said in so many words, he's here for the long haul. They've kind of
Yeah.
punted on this season. I don't see them. Maybe if Garoppolo gets cut and he can come in there for dirt cheap and he chooses to, there's something there. But I think that there'll be a 4-7 team with Jacoby Brissett in that first 11, and it won't be. And he'll, go 4-2, and there'll be an 8-9 team, and everyone will say they're coming next year.
And I think it was pretty intentional to have him have this specific number of games, because then it's like, well, then he definitely can't make the playoffs, and they definitely
Yep.
like it pretty much no matter what, they're not going to make the playoffs, but they're not going to also, because he's going to have something to prove, they're not going to also bomb so hard that they have an early draft round pick, because he'll
Yeah.
probably come in and honestly, he'll probably win the games like what you're saying, like win enough games to where they'll be right in the middle of the pack. They won't really have great draft position.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now
Yeah.
that you're putting that angle on it, I couldn't agree more, because the NFL did not want Deshaun Watson hosting a Lombardi trophy this year. They'll
Nope.
be fine with it in 23 and beyond, but that would not have been fun to have.
I even feel like they're preventing it from happening next year by making sure they have a horrible draft place that's like just bad enough for their aging roster to not be able to replenish itself in time, you know.
Right.
But who knows? Yeah, and your
But
point
yeah,
about Miles
yeah,
Garrett, I believe in Miles Garrett. I actually think their
yes,
defense is looking really good.
yes, I think that defense is going to hold its own. But in
Yeah.
this league, as great of a defense as you have, it's not like the days of even the 2000 Ravens where it can just take over and win you a Super Bowl. So again, I don't think it's enough without Watson.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so that, yeah, Watson I think was the big one. And then also, I don't have it on my list, but I just do want to get your quick thoughts on it.
Sure.
Tom Brady taking a little vacation here in training camp.
Yeah. So I feel like this is kind of a Homer report for me a little bit.
Yeah.
It was like it's just like, what is happening, dude? Is this
So
something related to the Dolphins debacle at all? Do you think this could have some where he's just like kind of checked out and actually considering completely retiring and going and doing something, owning a team or something?
So I had really no theories on this at all until this early afternoon, early morning. I threw on 98.5 Sports Hub. Shout out to them. The
Shout
Zolak
out.
and Bertrand Zolak and Bertrand show, excuse me. And they had a fill-in guy, Christian Arcan, usually does the nighttime. Long story short here, he said he mentioned the Tom Brady thing in their headline segment as they go into commercial, and he muttered under his lips, yeah, he's definitely not shooting right now for The Masked Singer. And I went, oh,
What?
wait a minute. And then it all kind of lined up, and
What
that's
the
going to come out
fuck?
this fall or in the winter. He's just got signed to Fox on that 10-year, $300 billion deal when he retires.
Oh my God.
I mean, it all kind of
He's
lines
playing
up. I mean,
3D
I don't know
chess.
why he needs that much time on the set to put a mask on to sing one song while they're all there and then go back to camp. But the ins and outs of it, it's just a conspiracy theory, really, that I heard from him that I'm going to
Yeah.
take and run with, because I got no other explanation
But like
other than that, or that,
seriously.
that, or it was a Giselle Bundchen deal in the 12th hour to get him to come back. That she said, yep, you can play another year, Tom, but I want X, Y, and Z of time off
Yeah.
during the year.
And we're
And
not,
I
and like
want mine.
obviously
Yeah.
not making that known really. Yeah.
Right. Publicly,
Yeah.
but that she wants a couple weeks out of training camp before the season starts. It's him and the fam. And then
Yeah.
that bye week, I bet he's all hers. And
Yeah.
then all the other time, it's back to football. So that's the two theories I got is either it's all Giselle or that he's celebrity Tom going to shoot the Masked Singer. Either way, it's interesting. I think if there's one guy in the league that can take time off in training camp and then go act like nothing was missed, it's Tom Brady. As much
Yeah.
as you don't want it to happen, as much as you don't want to see it as a team or fan, it's not ringing as many alarm bells because it's Tom.
What,
And
yeah,
at the
what's
end
he
of the
gonna do?
day, you
Get
don't
better?
take Right. Yeah.
You know, what's he gonna do? Have to practice? Like
Right.
he's not getting any better. He's obviously not getting any worse, which everyone's
Right.
waiting for
He,
that Brett
yeah.
Favre, that Peyton Manning, that fall off. They're like, well, it's gotta happen
Yeah.
eventually. It's like, yeah, but we've been saying that for like actually 10 years. I think
Right.
at
We
this
thought it.
point, every analyst I hear is like, I am not betting against Brady,
Right.
period. We're just
Yeah.
not gonna embarrass ourselves and do that. And it's crazy.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's a good transition into Tom's old team.
Oh, what do you know? What do you say? What do you know, huh?
What do you say? What do you know? So they played a game last week, and
Yeah.
that's what we'll call it, a game, because there really wasn't a whole lot of meat on the bone as far as
It's
players
good to see
playing.
Thornton though.
Hey, so I'm going to start with, let's start with the positives.
Yes.
I was impressed with the defense because
Good.
it was
Yeah.
second team unit guys playing great. So it makes me wonder then, and again, it was the caveat, second teamers against second teamers. The Giants aren't nearly ready yet as a team. I don't know, jury's still out on Daniel Jones, yada, yada. I get the caveats that are there, but I just think the front seven of New England is going to be Barmore, and
Yep.
it's Bill Belichick really
Yep.
revolutionized this modern day defense of what you see now over the last 5 years. He's been the first
Yeah.
of his kind of sub out linemen, and how it used to be Teddy Bruschi types that were three down linebackers right in the middle, and they didn't go anywhere until the defense was off the field. And now
Yeah.
you got linebackers going in for safeties and safeties going in for linebackers and all these different schematic stuff that he figured out to play matchups with people. And I think he's just going to continue to do that with just younger, talented people that we don't know the names of yet. It was
Yeah.
one of the parts that I enjoyed was watching it was that like he used to do it back in the day, and I can't wait. I think he's going to do it this year a lot, where you're going to see Christian Barmore with his hand on the ground and then five other guys around him or six other guys, and they're all going to be on their feet. And you're not
Yep.
going to know who's coming and who's dropping. Or it's
Yep.
going to be all seven of us are coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. And
Yeah.
it's just that kind of stuff is when they're rolling. I think their defense is going to be impressive. And then
Yeah.
offensively, yeah, Thornton was definitely actually. Hold on, you got a comment about the defense before I go on?
Yeah, did want to say really quick that I think it's important to remember that Flores is now with the Steelers doing their defense, what I think is what made us so successful. Some of that weird switchy
Yeah,
shit that happened with the Dolphins last year. This everything's a disguised look. People are versatile, doesn't matter. So everything's responsive to what's happening on the other side of the ball. So I think just as like a kind of weird bold prediction, we're looking at a Steelers defense that's going to finish, I think, top two after the Eagles, who are sneaky as hell. And that's bold as shit, but I really think the Eagles are
hey,
going to go far this year. And
there you
Flores
go.
being now the defensive coordinator of the Steelers that are already an extremely resilient team makes a huge difference. And so I look at like what the Patriots were doing innovation wise with Flores in the past, and then think about, oh shit, this dude is still in the league now. He's holding it down on in an AFC defense. It's just like, oh man. So I
Yeah,
really hope that Bill can just keep innovating and scheming, and I
right.
mean,
And
and
keep
Barmore
keep their
needs to
offense
step
in
in.
games.
Yes, in offense, yeah. But Barmore
Keep the
too,
offense
he
in
has
games.
some stepping up to do, but he's a Bama kid. He's gonna be fine.
Yeah, and the reports out is that he's had a really great camp so far. So that's
Okay,
what you
yeah.
want to hear. It's he's impressed even during the weeks that the joint practices. He's impressed as well. So
Okay.
and then to continue on that preseason game, yeah, the only really part that kind of stood out to me offensively was Thornton. And just that,
Yeah.
I don't want to, say the kid's Randy Moss, but I
Right.
also don't want to say that he's a scrub. I think you saw from a week one preseason game and what this kid's done the last 2 weeks of training camp that he can play in the league.
Yeah.
Um, he's definitely, I think the ceiling is a two. I think the floor is a 3 to 4 wide out in your depth chart, and that's nothing wrong with it. I think this kid is,
Yeah.
I obviously he's going to go through his growing pains. He's also going to have explosive plays that are going to make people say, wow. So he was really the only thing that stood out because you could tell like if it was a better, more competent quarterback on a few of those throws, he would have made some plays there. A lot of that, if he's even, he's beat kind of, he's that kind of guy. But then he's also done a lot of what I've been hearing is he's great on the breaks on his routes. He's doing a lot of stuff that they didn't envision him doing his rookie year. They envisioned
Yeah.
after getting some coaching in year ones and year two.
And he's not draftable to me in redraft, but he's somebody that when you're looking at your waivers on week 3 after you realize Jacoby Myers' floor is lower than you thought, and you realize, Nelson Aguilar had that one great catch for that touchdown in week 2, so you picked him up, and then you were like, oh no, he had 2 total targets so far. He just so
Yeah.
happened to make something
Yep.
happen on one of them. And then you start thinking like, well, who's next? And Damian
Yeah.
Harris is getting spelled, and Ramondre Stevenson's not catching as many passes as all the pre-camp hype.
Right.
When you look at all that, and then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
Thornton might be it. Yeah.
Even though I'm not a daily fantasy guy, Thornton should be on your radar comes week 5 to 7 when he continues the
Yeah.
rapport with Mac, and he's going to be dirt cheap. And again, you would
Yeah.
play the matchups, of course, and we're getting ahead of ourselves. But it's what I saw from him was that it was the guy who could play. I was also a little bit impressed with Christian Wilkerson,
Oh, of
although he got
course, dude.
hurt this past week in camp.
That's what I'm like, dude. I can't this game
Yep.
tonight, I'm pissed. I have a show tonight at 7, but I'm
Yeah.
DJing, so I'm like working it out so I can be watching the
Get a
game while
TV right up there. Yep.
I'll be
Yeah.
watching. I got a tab open. I can mix and match. But I need to know. I
I'm
mean, they're
definitely going to.
playing Mac. Why the hell are they doing that? They're gonna take his head
Well,
off.
I think it's so. This is my kind of transitioning to this Carolina. I'm going to definitely have a front row seat for that beginning part of this game because I'm
Yeah.
with you. I think that it's going to get chippy right out of the gate.
Yeah.
My thing with I think Mac playing is they need to see something. I think they need to see the ones out there and they need to see it and it's also for the players themselves. We need to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? You need to get the football reps. You need to get the mental football reps. I don't think they play a full half. I know Mike Reese had tweeted that the max would be a half. I think they play, if they go down first series, score a touchdown, they're going to be done for the day.
Yeah.
If it's everything, and that's what's so intriguing about that beginning of this game. If Mac Jones and the offense goes 3 and out and it's a false start and it looks bad, now it's good. And then they're going to go into another drive. And then that drive's going to be even more
Yeah.
important because you're going to get farther down the depth chart of Carolina. And it's like, if they're still struggling, more question marks pop up than answers.
Don't
Whereas
stress
if you
me
go
out,
down,
man.
have a work, I don't mean to, because odds are, or the hope is, they go have a workman-like drive right down the field, get 7, everybody daps it up, even if it's running the ball. And then Belichick says, everybody take the pads off and we roll the 2s out. And it's just, who's going to be roster numbers 46 to 53? We're going to find it out in the next 3 quarters.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so with the fights, so since we're, because that is one of my Patriot topics here, was the fights during this Carolina week. For me, what was alarming about it was the New England side in that, so you had, I think it was 2 or 3 fights on Tuesday. And it was somebody had hit Wilkerson and then Bourne got in and it was game on.
Mhm.
And then there was retaliation on the second fight and it was another fight. So that was the 2 fights on Tuesday, which I understand because if you pretty much listen to any of the veteran football players across the league, they'll all tell you that they're kind of confused as to why they have these joint practices because there's always a fight.
Yeah.
So that first 2 fights on Tuesday, I chalked it up as football players in the heat being football players. But then on Wednesday, to have it continue
I know.
after everybody has had the conversations of, hey,
Yeah.
stop.
Okay, we get it. You're high
Right.
T. Yeah.
It's concerning for New England when the second day of fights is concerning for me in New England because it would never be a second day of fights with a Bill Belichick led team a few years ago.
I know. Where's the discipline?
It's
Yeah.
right. It's where's the discipline, and the worry is that it's right. And if there's no discipline, as we know, that's loose. It's going to sink the ship quick. So that was the fighting part for me. I could sit there and go down the Twitter rabbit hole and tell you who started the fight, why, and late hits on this one and late hits on that one. And I get it. And probably most of it was initiated by Carolina. I get that Matt Rule is not the best coach, and they're kind of run a little grittier.
That's what I
And
said. I
not
love
really in
that
the
my team frustrates the other team so bad that they
right
have
that they
no
want to
choice
fight.
but to get
That's
chippy. It's like
yep,
that's
that's the
yeah,
right. That's the good sign. But then the bad sign was the retaliation piece. He,
yeah.
yeah, it's not a New England like thing.
But did you see the thing with Wilkerson, the blind side?
Yes, and that
Okay,
yeah, no
yeah.
need for that. There's no place for it. They were clearly
It,
going half speed, and the guy laid him out and then stood over.
and
Like,
stood over him. And if I'm sorry, but if Matthew freaking Slater
yeah, is in on it.
is getting in on it and getting
Then you
defensive
did
of his
something messed
players,
up.
dude, the
That's
guy's
yep.
been in the league for so long. He's basically like football dad at this point. Like he's not,
Yes.
like he's
Oh yeah,
proven
he's
him
everyone's favorite uncle for sure.
for
Yeah,
sure. He
or
has
yeah,
no
or
reason to
football
flex
dad.
on
Yeah,
anyone. So I feel
no,
like if it, like literally, I felt like the Patriots were bonding in a sense of like we're not gonna let this
yeah, and that
shit
is
happen. You know?
right. You hope for the
Yeah.
right. You hope for the other good side of the fights is the bonding.
Yeah.
What I am curious too about this game, and with all the chippiness to fights, it's also too is I'm happy Mac Jones is playing because I want to see who's talking into the headset.
Yeah.
Is it Patricia or is it Judge? Patricia was play calling for Hoyer, and
Mm.
Judge was play calling for Zeppi there, the backup. I can't think of his
Oh,
actual name. I just call
interesting.
him that.
Bailey.
So
Yeah.
Bailey, yep. But I call him Zeppy because that
Poor
was just because
guy.
he was from the
Yeah.
Zips.
Yeah.
So and then it to put this all together was then the Bills post game press conference, which I thought was the most interesting part of that whole preseason game and block of time last Friday was Bill Belichick's press conference, where the reporters are starting to get smart, and that you can't just say to Bill, "Hey, Bill, why was Patricia calling for Hoyer and why was Judge calling for Zeppi?" And he just
Right.
goes, "Well, that's the decision we made, and that's it." So
Yeah.
one of the reporters that I'm sorry, I don't know your name, Mr. Reporter, but he had phrased it correctly, where he goes, "So what was the benefit of having both guys calling plays? And
Oh,
did you get a
smart.
benefit at?" Yeah, he worded it correctly.
Yeah.
And Belichick, I don't know if this is the verbatim quote, but from what I remember him saying on the soundbite was, "Don't worry about that right now," to the reporter. Just, and I mean, if I'm the reporter, I'm like, well, I guess you're right that I don't worry about it and that like
Right.
I have a family and a life, but it is my job. So I kind of worry about this, Bill.
Right.
Why are you having two different people call plays in preseason games?
Hmm.
And so I just, it's going to
Okay.
continue to be a question mark until they produce.
Right. Because it hasn't worked yet. And then the other thing is that what he's gonna do? Where he's gonna have an basically a team one offensive coordinator and a team two offensive coordinator and do that as a way of leveraging relationships so he fully had but like that doesn't even make sense depth chart wise.
No,
There's too
no,
much overlap,
right.
well, that's what a quarterback coach is for. Like
Yep. Right. The
I
the
don't get
Patriot
it.
I don't either. The Patriot media has been reporting that it's Judge is being groomed to be the play caller, but that they all believe Patricia is the current play caller. So then what does that timeline entail? Like is Joe Judge going to be ready like week 3, second half?
And what's the
Is he
point of that?
is he going to be ready next year and that this is just a preseason thing and that Judge is going to be the QB coach all year this year and then next year step into the role of offensive coordinator? I don't
Okay, the only
I
thing
don't
now I'm thinking, are you doing that because Patricia's gonna get another full-time head coach offer at some point? Like maybe there's some inside
I
baseball shit that Bill knows that that obviously we wouldn't have like, when somebody
yeah,
gets fired mid-season, they're gonna probably snag one of the two guys. So I might as well have, because it does feel like again with the 3D chess thing, it's like with Brady, like the two of them, Belichick and Brady, it's like they
yeah,
are doing things that
thinking
don't make sense, but then over time you're like, oh, okay, I kind of
it
get,
all. Yeah, we all
yeah.
then figure it out 3 moves later
Yeah, it's like, oh
when we
well, Joe
see it
Judge
all
was
and
gonna
it's
get pulled to replace whoever's on the chopping block. Just his name. I mean, yeah, name
right.
it.
Name a head
Um,
coach on the hot seat or just I agree that it's a weird way of delegating is really
yeah,
what it is to me. And that I think we as the Patriot fans and Patriot media, I think just kind of go back to the default of Bill we trust. And so
yeah.
it's a weird delegation. It doesn't really make sense. You're trying to figure it out. If you trust in Bill, but you think Patricia and Judge are boobs, then you kind of have to find somewhere in between that.
Right.
And so, I mean, if I had to guess, it's from what again, another part is that I hear that it's Joe Judge is attached to the hip of Mac, like McDaniels was.
Okay.
So I do see the grooming connection and it making sense because it's one man, one voice, one mic, one voice for Mac Jones. That's the desire, I think.
Yeah.
It's just my worry is, I mean, how many times have we watched over the last 20 years during the Patriot era that you've seen young quarterbacks and you go, that guy got ruined because he had a decent rookie year and then they brought in a new head coach and a different system and it's 3 different coordinators in 4 different years and you know what I mean? And you whereas Brady learned his Brady system and then built upon it through whatever amount of years with Charlie Weiss, and then brought in another offensive coordinator, one mic, one sound, and then he continued building, stacking years of learning his offense. Whereas the worry with Mac is we're not even stacking weeks or days right now, let alone years, because
so
of all
true,
this confusion.
Dude. And So it is like exactly what you're saying, where to me, I'm not that worried about it until I start thinking about it. And I'm like, oh, I think I might be, but I'm not that worried about it because of, the age old adage here, folks. It's been 2 decades of just trust Bill because it's going to work out.
Right.
And, we didn't trade up. We didn't trade up and we got Mac Jones. Last year we went to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. We were the only team to do that.
Yep. You won 10 games last year. And I know it's so weird that when you get to the tea leaves and the nitty gritty of New England, you find all these holes. But then when you look at them 35,000 feet in the air, you say, oh, they went 10-7 with a rookie quarterback and their defense got better. And they added a few weapons. So you're like, and yes, they went a little back with losing 2 offensive linemen. So it is such a give and take of like, well, are they that non-competitive now because they moved a few pieces and a few coordinators? But then are they that competitive because a bunch of teams got better and they are schematically all over the place? It's very, very intriguing.
And is there like this coordinator is, and which Bill wouldn't say this yet because I think it would show the cards in the hand too much, but is it like Joe Judge is doing when it's 1st and 10 or 3rd and long, and Patricia's doing these or you know what I mean? Is it like broken up by place in the field? Like, okay, you're in charge of red zone. I mean, but why not? Because I think that might be Bill's thing of like, you're going to specialize and you're going to call all of the red zone plays. And that's what you're going to do. And you're going to specialize and you're going to call all of these specific plays. And I'm going to and I'm Bill Belichick. So I'm going to specialize and call like, but then
Mac Jones is on the sideline screaming, who am I talking to?
Yeah.
That's
it's red zone is Joe. Duh.
But then he'll go, well, then I thought midfield was Joe, and then but and I got a kind of a fire take for you with New England.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go.
I think Kendrick Bourne or Nelson Aguilar could or will get cut/traded with the resurgence of Thornton, depending on Wilkerson here. If Wilkerson comes back from whatever his bell getting rung and he shows to continue on the progression that they want, Kendrick Bourne is only owed $3 million this year. Kendrick Bourne has been running with the twos. He got into a fight on Tuesday, and then I think he got into a second fight on Wednesday, or just definitely wasn't shying away from those skirmishes on Wednesday. He got pulled off the field at one point because Bill eviscerated him over a uniform violation, someone reported. I don't know the specifics on that. I believe it was one of the Patriot beat writers, though, said that Bill basically just, lit him up over a uniform violation. So it has not been a camp of positivity for Kendrick Bourne so far. It's not been a good training camp so far.
He's just a PPR guy, which they could have Myers move over and do that. If I think Aguilar is showing something, but here's the only thing I think with trading Aguilar, wouldn't that be more beneficial for them contract wise if I'm remembering correctly?
Yes,
I think they
because
owe him a ton of
he
money.
is 1 year, $9 million. So if Aguilar is able to have, because I think he signed a 2-year deal at 18 million. So, and I
Yeah.
don't know what, so I believe it's 9 million guaranteed. And so if he could show a team, again, i.e. a Dallas, maybe that's kind of why this is the transition here
Yeah.
to Dallas was
Let's do
these
it.
two guys potentially getting cut, because I could see both of them if Dallas is not um high on any of their younger wideouts out behind CD, excuse me, then an Aguilar or a Bourne coming in could be possible. But
Okay.
I think that part, the Dallas part's getting ahead of ourselves. I think going back to
Yeah.
Bourne and Aguilar, I just think that there might be an odd man out in that room with Devontae Parker, uh, Thornton,
Hmm.
Wilkerson, and the other Patriot wideouts names are escaping me. But then you have Bourne and Aguilar. That's 5. It's just there may
Uh,
be an odd man out there between Bourne and Aguilar right now.
I completely forgot about Devontae Parker. So
And that's
it's
the
making it even more realistic that that would be Aguilar. They're the same like
right. You have
body type, right?
right. So you have Nelson Aguilar, Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers. And then if you believe in Kwan Thornton and Christian Wilkerson as your 2 young guys,
Yeah.
there's 6. I mean, yeah, most teams do keep 6, but do they believe in the Malcolm Perrys of the world that are on there, to be the 6th guy, and then they can cut an Aguilar and say 4.5 million, where they can go call a team that, let's say a team that's desperate for a wideout calls and says, hey, we'll give you a 4th or 5th rounder and take half the salary off of Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
wouldn't
that's
trade
really
Myers,
enticing.
right? They wouldn't trade
I
Myers.
don't I don't see Jacoby Myers being
He's a
traded. I don't know what his
leader.
contract looks like, but
Yeah.
he's also I think more of your slot blanket guy
Yeah.
for Mac. Yeah, I think he's shown
So
his
he could
value.
move over and do what Bourne did
He
last year, basically,
he
and have
right.
Aguilar and Parkwell, or and have Parker and I guess Thornton. I don't know. He's the KJ Hamler. He's the
Yeah.
Van Jefferson. He's the
It's right. What's interesting is Myers and Parker can supplement the 2 roles that Bourne and Aguilar were.
mhm,
And so if there's a belief in
yeah.
the young guys in that room, then maybe one of those 2 could be an odd man out. I highlight Bourne more than Aguilar because Aguilar's had a good camp. Aguilar's looked healthy. And also Bourne has been none of those things. He's had a few nicks, and he's also just looked like a complete idiot for the last 2 to 3 weeks.
For
So it'll
real.
be interesting to see what kind of playing time Bourne gets tonight, where he's positioned on the depth chart, because he's been
Mhm.
rolling with the 2s and the 3s, and that's if you are supposed to be a number 1 wideout and you're rolling with the 2s and you're a veteran guy, it usually
Yeah.
leads to a cut, especially if you're only making $3 million and it's an easy cut.
I know. I think it's interesting because I think he schemed in from last year.
Yep,
So I
and
don't
that is a good
know.
point.
Yeah, I don't know
And
that he's an
yeah,
easy cut. I think they
no,
would,
you're right. I'm sorry.
but
Bourne specifically is not an easy cut. A
yeah,
veteran that running with the 2s is an easy cut. Let me clarify. Yeah, Bourne and
right.
Aguilar are neither easy cuts. It is more of a hot take.
I think Aguilar is probably because he didn't do they couldn't figure out how to use him last year. They just couldn't.
Right.
The same, honestly, same with Janu. Like he was blocking, 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 and
Yes.
with Aguilar, it's like he just didn't have any productivity for whatever reason and the scheme has changed. So maybe that scheme has changed to include Aguilar instead of Bourne, and they're moving away from the way they used him last year. So
Yeah.
let's keep an eye on that. I really like that prediction that it will be either of those 2 guys that we signed in the offseason last year, just as like that's dead weight. We drafted
Right.
this young guy. Wilkerson already really he's proven himself in real
Showing some
time game
upside.
speed.
Yep.
He had
Yep.
he had 2
2
wide receiver
touchdowns.
1 performances. It
Yes.
was insane.
In one of the
And
games. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, and yeah, so um
Absolutely.
and then then Dallas can sign Aguilar and then
I I would not mind to take the top off Nelson Aguilar over a lot of the
who'd you rather
young
have,
people.
Bourne or Aguilar on Dallas?
Bourne for sure.
Okay. Wow.
Um,
Interesting.
as much as I think that he kind of does similar things to CD, I think Bourne is way more explosive and has, I think, has more mileage left in the tank than Aguilar does. So I would definitely want Bourne. I also think
Okay.
he can. The hope is that he'd have a chip on his shoulder from getting cut to New England. That's also why I'd want Bourne.
Yeah, makes sense to me.
Speaking of those wonderful Dallas Cowboys, oh,
Let's do it.
do you know the number 266 in its significance with this team?
Couldn't tell you.
That's the number of penalties they've had over the last two seasons.
No fucking way.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
266. I can't even fathom how to put that into perspective with anyone else in the league or anyone with a brain. They led the league last year in penalties. So
Yeah,
we had stepped up from the year before where we were second in the league in penalties. We stepped our game up and became last in the league.
good, good. Or first,
The
if you
part
look at
that
it, depending on how
right,
you look at
yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. If you ain't first, you're last. And so we knew that. So that's why we took first this last year in penalties. The part that is ready for me to like throw my headset off and like go run my head into a wall when I talk about this is Mike McCarthy's reaction. Just like with that post game of this first preseason game where we went for 17 penalties to the tune of 129 yards.
Yeah.
So it's not getting better. It's been 2 years of this, and then the first sign of you showing us that it's gotten better, you've regressed historically. And just his reaction after that game of, well, we have to look at them and see what ones were mistakes and what ones were aggressive. Are you flipping kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
What? They're all
Mm-hmm.
mistakes. They're penalties. You need to fix it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know what you need to do, Mike, because I'm not a football complete expert because I'm not on the sideline. I just like to talk about it. But, Mike,
Right.
you have Kellen Moore run your offense. You have Dan Quinn run your defense. So what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're supposed to game manage everything else and let them implement their game plans. And then you make sure everything else goes smoothly. And then literally nothing else has gone smoothly, Mike. So I have no idea
Yeah.
what you're specifically doing to fix this problem or in general at this point. And I like Mike McCarthy. That's what's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. So you like him? I
Again, over the like I told you last week, I like him over the clown car of bozos that Jerry has brought in
yeah.
that have all been yes men. I think he's the smartest of the yes men, but clearly I
Okay.
was wrong about that to this point because at least all the other yes men, their level of incompetency didn't involve this many penalties. I mean, this
And
is
and
Mickey
not
Mouse show
saying,
stuff.
oh yeah, we just call it
Oh,
what it
right,
is. Oh
right,
yeah, we
own
gotta
it,
fix this. This is
own it.
bad. Yeah.
Right. Haven't got, and I think it was another press conference later in this week where he goes, obviously penalties are a problem and kind of just left it at that. And it's like, well, no kidding.
Yeah.
Like you can't just shove it under the rug and poo poo it now. Like it's
Yeah.
in front of everyone's face, especially when you had a team that should have beat San Francisco in that playoff game. They were the more talented team. We
Absolutely.
were the better team. Nothing against San Francisco, and they went on to do what they did, so it was not like it was a total fluke. But I mean, to allow for that season to end the way it did, and to not have any kind of emphasis on the thing that was your Achilles heel right out of the
Yeah.
gate is just maddening to me.
It sure is. And then I mean that comes from the coach level and is the kind of thing
Yeah,
that wins or loses games. And honestly, just
absolutely.
like as a Patriots fan, like just saying like we
I
our discipline stuff is in lock, and that's one of the things
right.
that pushes us over because our team is not talent wise. Our team's not better than the Cowboys. No fucking
I
way. We're not even close.
it's
But
oh, excuse me.
at the same
Right.
time, we stay winning in ways that it's like just
Exactly.
basic execution. Like
I was
you
just
can't be
gonna say
working
that
against
it's
yourself.
right.
Yeah,
The this league, and don't get me wrong, obviously there's talent levels of discrepancy, but for the most part, as they always say, anybody can win any given week in this league. 1 to 32, we could sit here and go through every roster and we can make you a story of how that team could be successful. Everyone's got talent. You're exactly right. It's
yeah,
what do you do in the nut cutting time of 4 to 6 minutes left in a game,
yeah,
and as far as discipline and executing your plays. And then that's the issue with them right now. It's nobody knows what the left hand is doing with the right during the last 5 minutes of a game. No one has any clue what's going on. And that whole he couldn't see the clock at the end of the game last year. Like, what? You can't see the clock in the stadium that has the biggest screen TV, I think, in the world, let alone a stadium? Like, what do you mean? You don't have a clock guy that is literally next to you that has the clock? Like, it's just the Mickey, and like you said with New England, they're tight-knit, and it won them a ton of games under the Brady era, where it was a key false start here for the opposing team that led to a punt that led to Tom scoring, or Tom taking advantage of the other team doing something wrong. So, but I will now be positive. That was my negative. I'm going to leave it there. It's in the past, and we're going to fix it tonight. I think we play tonight as well as you guys, or I think we might be Sunday night. I have to check my schedule, but regardless, we're going to turn it around. So here's the positives. The reports I was getting out of, I think the guy's Nick Eastman, he's a Cowboy beat writer. The defensive line was dominant in co-practices with the Chargers this week.
That's great.
It has really gotten me really excited about Micah Parsons, Neville Gilmore, DeMarcus Lawrence, and all those guys really being able to get after it and being a disruption along the defensive line week in and week out. And I think if you can do that, it makes everything else easier. The question marks at running back, question marks at linebacker, and other parts of the secondary outside of Diggs, their jobs become a lot easier when it's less than 2.5 seconds to throw the football for a quarterback, because it's these guys breathing down their necks. So really love the defensive line right now. And then the next part, and this was where I want to get your take, it's a little bit of the fantasy / roster, and that's the opportunities for Fakoko. He's the rookie from last year. They got
Semi. Yeah. I grabbed him in some of my dynasty leagues last year and stashed him on my taxi squad because I thought I saw a lot of potential there. So
we can actually have a minute here on Semi, and that so this week, CeeDee Lamb and Noah Brown were both out with minor injuries, nothing of serious note, but so he was able to get some rub today. Nice. And it was him and rookie Dennis Houston who had good days during this week of camp with Lamb and Noah Brown out. With that, then it's the other options is that ex-USFL guy, was Cavante Turbin.
I don't know.
So he flashed a play during this week, and then it's TJ Vasher and Brandon Smith.
Okay.
So, and then obviously I apologize, Jalen Tolbert. I did it again on you. Jalen Tolbert is also there.
But he's also there. So the reports aren't great, or
there hasn't been much on Tolbert.
Okay.
He's getting a lot of these guys are gonna have opportunities tonight because no Lamb, no Brown, and I'd imagine Dak is gonna get a couple series. So tonight's tonight, fellas. If you want
I think it's tomorrow. Your game's tomorrow.
Sorry, you're right. So yes. So tomorrow night's the night for them. Because you're going to get some legitimate reps with Dak Prescott. And if you can get Dak Prescott happy with you, then that leads the coaching staff to more opportunities for you.
Okay. Yeah. So I think when the first couple weeks of training camp, he was getting a ridiculous amount of hype. It sounds like it's super calmed down. Simi Fehoko is somebody that I had my eye on last year, legitimately was looking for him to have.
He might be the one emerging.
He what?
He might be the one emerging, but still very early.
Yeah. And so that's kind of almost to an extent why I'm not going to go out of my way to draft Jalen Tolbert. And it's the same thing kind of with Jahan Dotson, where you're like, well, last year with Diami Brown, and then these guys have one more year under their belt. They have one more year of the playbook under their belt. There's all the mental things that go into it, where you see these year 2 guys really step in. Even DeAndre Carter, I'm talking football team, or what are they? Commanders now, but it's a similar mentality of here we have these year 2 dudes who we thought would take a leap last year, and then now's the year you see the rookie come in, they just have that mental step on them. So I could see Jalen, week 6, he starts getting a couple targets, and then maybe he's fantasy viable by week 11.
Yep.
But we'll see. Sammy
Yeah.
Fehoko has that Gabe Davis kind of vibe to me, where
Yeah, a little something there. Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely, I think all these guys are for sure not going to be on your radar come day of drafts, but
yeah,
as the weeks go on, are definitely going to be plug and play fantasy things throughout the year. Depending on matchups for Dallas. But you got to see who emerges first
yeah,
before you put them on your radar.
yeah. Oh, I
Um,
just really he's 6'4". Fajoko's 6'4". So
there
he's
you go.
he's
So yeah, he's
pretty.
a big
Oh no,
boy.
he's listed as 6'3". Okay, so he is more Gabe Davis than I thought, because he's also
Gotcha.
6'3".
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Um.
Next bit of Cowboy news. And this again continues on fantasy. Um, as much as I've had my criticisms of him, and I wasn't a fan of him getting drafted by us up 10 years ago in 2016, but Zeke is being criminally underrated, in my
Yeah.
opinion, in the fantasy running back world right now. I don't know why we have him at RB 17. Um, I think he's better than David Montgomery. I think he's more reliable than Saquon Barkley. I think he's better than Javonte Williams and James Conner. And I also think he's more reliable than DeAndre Swift. I think you still would probably take Barkley and Swift potentially ahead of Zeke because of the upside in both of those guys.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I don't know what world someone wants to take David Montgomery over Ezekiel Elliott. I don't understand that. That just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm a Montgomery fan. I know you're a Fields person and you're a big Fields fan, but I just Zeke has led the league in rushing before. He's had, it's I don't.
I'm not a big enough Fields fan to take Montgomery over Zeke. Like,
Yeah, this. And again, if you want to handcuff him with Pollard, by all means, because you don't believe the back end of the seasons,
yeah.
because he always kind of fades as seasons go on. I get that criticism side of it, but this idea that Zeke Elliott doesn't churn out 15 to 20 points for you fantasy wise every week is just ridiculous. And I won't sit here and stand for it.
Yeah, 100%, and you shouldn't. And I think one of the things for me putting Zeke down my board a little bit, and I would say actually having a rushing quarterback or a potential rushing quarterback like Fields, brings Montgomery down. But then in that same vein, we've heard, and we don't know if it's true, but we've heard Dak is going to rush more this year. I don't
Right.
know where we're at on that now, because that
Yep.
was a
And
couple weeks
that's,
ago, but
yep. I'd have to look more into that. Just the
then
thought
you
of it
got
scares me. So
Pollard.
I just haven't even looked into it.
Yeah, 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 right. As it should, as it should. But so then with Zeke, you're like, well, he's really hot and cold, plus
Yep.
Pollard, plus potentially Dak rushing more. But then you
Yeah.
remember, well, who are their pass catching options, right? So then you're like, okay, well, Zeke can catch passes, So
Right. But it's a lot of his screen game stuff. But you are right that there is, and I agree. Like I definitely would not, say he's getting completely destroyed and that if he should be back in the top 5 like he was last year. Like I
right,
agree
right.
that he falls. If I can pull up my rankings, I just had it and I'm going to lose it. Here we go. No, hold on. Where was my fantasy thing? It had him. Oh, you stupid book. Excuse me, everybody. Please hold. Here it is. So, kicker. So it has him 17. And so I agree. Like, I don't think
RB2.
it's, yeah, absolutely. And that after Nick, anything Nick Chubb and before, I agree is better than Zeke. I don't put him in that top 12 anymore. I think he's fallen out of that
Yeah,
with the emergences of Chubb and Swift and Mixon and and then obviously your staples of McCaffrey's and Kamara's and Cooks and he's not a top tier, but RB2 for sure. But a
yeah.
lot of the 17th ranked stuff is just I think ridiculous.
So you have him ranked 17th, or you're saying other
No,
people?
right,
Okay,
other people, yeah, other people. A
okay.
lot of the things that have been going around him at 17 is where I'm seeing him average out at
Oh, okay. I thought
for a
you
ranking.
were checking
No,
your rankings
oh
and
yeah,
you
no, no,
said
no.
17, and I
Sorry,
was like, okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, an RB2, but that feels like a really low RB2 for
yeah,
Zeke, because
no.
I would take him
I'd have him 13th best running
perfect.
back. And
Yes, yes. I
yep,
was gonna say
I have him.
12, like really
Yep.
literally right on the cusp of, like, because yes. And I would honestly, a Zeke and Montgomery backfield is like kind of
That
my
ain't the end of the
jam. That's my
Yeah,
jam right
that
there.
ain't the
Like,
that's not bad at all. If you're telling me Devontae Adams was my first pick, you
yep,
know what I mean, or a Justin Jefferson or a top 3 wide. If you tell me I got Cooper Kupp, Zeke, and Montgomery, I'm
yep.
not that mad
Or
about
you
it.
know what? Even better, you got Adams, Kelsey, Zeke, and Montgomery,
Not
and then
that
you
mad
take
about
Jalen
it.
Hurts,
Yeah,
and you're like,
right. And then
yeah,
wait a minute now. Right.
yeah,
We got something cooking, and now I just got to build depth.
yeah,
Yeah, he's definitely RB2, but this idea of him hovering around the RB3 area, I think is just ridiculous.
yeah.
You would take Chubb over him, right? I
Over
think I would
Zeke,
too. Yeah.
yeah, especially now
Yeah.
because what they're running again,
Right.
they were like
No,
this
good
last
point.
year, but
It's
I
right.
think
Even with
now
him
I
being
did.
keyed in on,
Was that?
even with Chubb being keyed in on for the first 11 games, like defenses having more game planning for him because it's Jacoby Brissett, not Watson. But still, it's regardless.
That's okay. They still have Demetric
Right.
Felton, so they're gonna win games with
Right.
him, and
Yeah, you go.
that's I should have
No,
made
I
him
agree.
my guy. Man,
There you go.
Demetric Felton and what's his buddy Dearness Johnson. I think because I thought they were gonna trade Hunt away, Kareem Hunt away sooner, and I don't think they are now because they
Mm-mm.
kind of need to have that like super deep running slash pass catching back attack with what they have going on at quarterback. So I think they'll keep Hunt, and at least for it would actually be so funny if they just kept him for 6 games and then traded him away for some assets for when like knowing like Watson's coming back soon, and like honestly that would be kind of
Yeah,
smart. So don't listen to
it
this,
wouldn't.
Browns. Please don't listen to
Yeah,
this.
do the opposite.
I need you
Yeah,
to
I can.
fail.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Hunt thing. I think they probably didn't agree to disagree. Where he said, "Well, I'm just not going to do anything in camp. I'll see you all for week 1, and
Yeah.
we'll play out this year, and then I'm going to walk." And they probably more or less said that works with us, Kareem, because we're
Yeah.
nowhere near. We're very far apart on numbers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the thing with Chubb is you probably are going to want to handicap him in some way, whether it's Hunt or the 2 guys you mentioned, because he missed time last year,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Who yeah, I think. And then I guess what's the biggest choice I'm having to make with when it comes to Zeke? It is right around that Saquon line. And
yeah,
I'm taking Saquon
it's
over him.
there you go.
I am. Who am I not
It
taking
would
over him?
see from yeah, it's like Javonte Williams. I'm not taking over him. James Conner. I'm not taking over him. Um,
Oh, interesting. I think
DeAndre Swift gets a little interesting, but he's missed time both of his 2 seasons, although his ceiling is so high. If he puts it together for a full 17, DeAndre Swift could be an RB1 overall. Like he could
yeah.
be special.
I'm
It's
definitely
just
taking Swift over Zeke. I mean, it's
yeah,
just like to
it's
me, like
no, it's
it's
different because
gotta
also
happen.
Swift's pass catching. It's just the
Yeah,
worry with Swift is the wear and tear from Georgia and then missing time the first 2 years. But
yeah.
you kind of live and die with it because that's the name of the game in the NFL anyway. So
Okay,
um
so I am taking Javante over Zeke. I
oh, God bless you. I
am
don't believe in him yet.
not sure about Connor. That's the line for me right there. Is
There
of
you go.
now that Kamara is back in the picture too, I think that bumps Zeke down a little bit. Of course.
Yep.
Fournette, I'm not taking over Zeke. So I'll take Zeke over Fournette, and I will really have to think hard about am
Yes.
I taking Connor or am I taking Zeke? And that will depend on the rest of my roster. Because if I
Oh,
have CeeDee
absolutely.
Lamb, I'm not taking Zeke.
Right. Or
And
if
yeah, or
you
Mike,
if you
Mike
oh go
Evans.
ahead.
I was gonna say Mike
Like yeah, I
Evans,
know if
but
I find myself with or if I'm planning on like in my head I'm gonna take 2 running backs in the first 2 rounds and I have like a Christian McCaffrey, I might lean more towards a Zeke than I do a Barkley because I don't yes, the upside of having McCaffrey and Zeke is sky high, but I could also have the season for me be over by week 4
oh, with Barkley and
and
McCaffrey, yeah,
McCaffrey.
totally, yeah, yeah,
It's the reason my strategy with Zeke is going to be I want him to be my RB2 if I'm going to take a risk at RB1
yeah,
or just have him be my RB1 insurance. That's the other reason why I'm semi high on Zeke within his ranking is because I think he can just come in and you're going to get 10 to 15 out of him every week. And
Yeah.
that's what you need out of your RB2. And you
It's
can
can
plug
he
and
do
play
anything
him.
with it? That's where I
Fair
get
enough.
worried.
I know. Can he get either in the end zone, or can he give you 17 weeks?
Can he
Or
create
can he,
space still?
right?
Can
Can he,
he
yeah, I know. Can he get back to his rookie year where they were giving him that one hole and he'd cut and he'd be gone and it would be at least 20 yards, if not more? I know he's got to get back to put your foot in the ground and go and be that bruiser that he's been.
right? Because then I start thinking about freaking Eli Mitchell, and I'm like, am I gonna regret taking Zeke over someone like Mitchell? I'm
That's it.
serious,
Yes.
you
No,
know?
that's very no, because again, regardless of the QB situation in New York, I'm with you on Elijah Mitchell in that even he's one of those, even on a bad team, I'm gonna get mine.
Yeah.
And that's you can never put a premium on that if a wide absolutely. That's another good toss up with him there is Mitchell. Let me pull up, see if I can
I
oh no, this
faded Miles Sanders so hard,
I know
and
I
I,
don't
yeah,
believe
I can't do it.
I
I
can't
just
either.
can't.
It's another one that I really
Right.
wish. And again, I guess I'd say this: if Miles Sanders is my third running back, which I don't think he would ever fall to that area of being my third running back, but if he was, I'd be dancing in the streets because I'd be fine with that. Where if
Totally.
where I was sitting there every week going, oh, should I plug Miles Sanders in or a wideout in my flex,
Right.
and just and then get Miles Sanders to help me out by taking those 4 to 6 weeks off. He always does, and just make my decision for me. And
Yeah, 100%.
like,
Rashad
oh, okay,
Penny, that's another guy I'm kind of, I was
yep,
super high on,
he's
and I've
yep,
slowly kind of been like, oh no, I don't know
yeah,
if I can
just
do it.
because
Yeah,
Seattle's gonna suck something else. That's
so
it.
bad.
I'll give you 2 minutes on Seattle real quick. I watched that game last night.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it
Uh,
was this was the not good about it. So again, preseason, the caveat, less
yeah.
talented, but there was muff punts, there was drop snaps, there was this one play. This idiot Justin Coleman, I'm calling you out, buddy. That was the dumbest play I've ever seen on a football field. It was the punter punted a beautiful ball, bounced at the 5. It took a nice high bounce. It was right there at the 1. All the guy had to do was take the 30 seconds to look at his feet and then look back up at the ball and
Yeah.
put himself in play and down it at the 1. And he just was lazy and had his feet right on the end line and kept him there. And then just caught the ball, looked at the ref, threw it back into the field of play to try and act like it didn't happen. And then the ref just called the touchback. And you're like, wow, it was such a bonehead play. And it's
Who
one of those
who
when you
fumbled in the end zone too? That happened too, right?
that was, yeah, I think it was,
So
I forgot who
stupid.
that was, but yeah, they looked very Mickey Mousey. And then it also wasn't a good
Mickey
look
Mouse.
that Pete Carroll all week was like, yeah, Lockett and
Yeah.
Metcalf aren't playing, and then he came in for 3 plays, and they both went on the sideline. And were like, yeah, that was kind of stupid. They more or less said it without any word. Like DK tried to be joking about it, where he was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
mad at Pete. He said I was going to play longer. And
Yeah.
then Lockett was like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. And that, you know what I mean? It was very telling
Yeesh.
of like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I really think Seattle's gonna suck something different and be like 3-14 or 2-15.
And then the bear. I mean, it's like that's to the Bears, where
Well, right, that's the other where the Bears I think are gonna be right 5-12. I think they're gonna show
maybe.
signs of improvement, but they're still not anywhere near it yet.
I know.
Yeah, they were making Nathan Peterman look semi decent for a few stretches where you're like, wait a minute,
Uh,
this isn't right.
So Bayless Jones, I was really impressed with how, he had the fumble he had the fumble on this first ever on the first play, and then the next was it a punt return, right? Where he just turned up, and like I felt like
Yes.
good on the coaches for saying this is a rookie, he
Yep.
fumbled. Let's just
And
keep
this is
him
the
out there
Chicago
because
kid, right?
yeah, you should Bayless
Yes.
Jones. Yeah, the kid, same guy, fumbled on the kick return and then turned up for the punt return. And I just felt like
Yes. I remember
already
that
you're
play.
seeing the coaching improvements on the Bears where from
Yes.
last year, right? No more freaking smoke and mirrors, magic trick
Nope.
shit. It was like,
Oh,
bro,
it
just go
was
out there and do the thing you know how to do. He went out there
yeah,
and fully proved himself. Like,
absolutely.
loved
And I
it.
think it was also great by them because they recognized because it was the analyst for ESPN brought it up that when that punt that he fumbled, his player backed up into him. So it really wasn't even a spot like he was put in a rock and a hard place to begin with before
Yeah.
he even had the chance to catch the ball, and then he fumbled it. So I think that was, and that's, you're right, that it wasn't an
Oh, this was on
overreaction
the
by the
first
coaching.
kickoff.
Oh, it was the first.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He got
Never
the
mind.
first kickoff, and
And
then it
fumbled it.
was
I
in the
missed that part. I was
first
a little
fucking
late to the
play.
game. I got you.
Yeah, and
I thought it was
then
the fumble on a
oh,
punt return that a guy had, but
that
they
might have been the Seahawks that I think did that.
see. So the Seahawks fumbled a punt because
They
they're
did too?
bozos.
Oh
Yes,
my
and then
God.
Chicago fumbled a punt, but you could say with Chicago's that when you watch that replay, that guy backed right up into his punt returner, and it was not the punt returner's fault.
Okay.
Um,
Who fumbled? I need to know just like Bears fumbles preseason week 2.
yeah,
Because like
yeah.
if it
And while
was
you're looking that up, yeah, and I'll say this too about the Bears. While you're looking that up, it was very positive to see. If I was a Bears fan, they were doing a lot of outside read running, and then they were doing a ton of play action rolling out with Fields. Imagine that,
okay.
getting the mobile quarterback on the move, out of the pocket,
What do you
use his
know?
athleticism,
Yeah.
and let him, survey the field as best as he knows how. And yeah, right. Like you said, what do you know? That led to benefit and positive plays.
Almost like if you use your players for their strengths, you're gonna have a
It's
better team.
it's a crazy concept that,
Okay,
you
so
know,
Velus Jones, it's kind of was a net neutral thing for him. He
okay.
fumbled the kick return, but then he just turned all. Wait, was it him that fumbled the kick return? Um, or was that Daz Newsome?
Mm,
I know Daz did fumble, but I thought it
gotcha.
was just a punt return. So Daz was their
Yeah.
second round wide receiver pick last year,
Okay.
and Bayless is their rookie for this year.
This year. Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's one
Um,
of those things where they need depth. So like, especially a wide receiver, they're really looking for somebody to like. I think if we can get
step up.
somebody
Up.
besides
Absolutely.
Mooney to step in,
Mooney.
like
Yep.
points to be had there.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. The Bears wideout number 2 should be on your radar. Not right now, but during the season. Absolutely.
Yeah, agreed.
Especially again, if they can get into some QB friendly scenarios for Fields, he's gonna make plays for others. So do you
Yeah.
want to do this?
Okay,
Um,
I here's what I think. Let's wrap this
yes.
and then let's start and let's do a my guy separate episode.
Okay.
What do you think? Because I think we're at about an hour. We got our Homer report in, and then
Sounds good.
all right, 6. So
All right.
catch
Let
y'all
me
on the
just,
flip. Be right
yeah.
back. Okay.
Yeah. See you guys soon.
See ya.